As we roll in, since we just watched a video, we're going to go into the whole series now of Veni, Vidi, Vici video. And I'd like to bring up our panelists, where it's quite fun, and we'll be learning a lot about what's changing in the marketplace. We are all glued to the TV. Mark Turbick is going to come and present for us and moderate. We have a stellar panel lined up for all of us to see, and I'd like to bring up the panelists right now. We have Ori Birnbaum from Whipclip, which is the darling of Hollywood now. Formerly, he had created another company, which I'll tell you about, Veni, that he sold to Yahoo, so he's a serial entrepreneur. That's coming up. We have Applicaster, which is a really cool technology that enables the aggregation together. Babatar, Viewbix. Mark Turbick from Graycroft Partners will take us on a whirlwind tour of video in our next section, Vidi, Veni, Vici video. Tada, take it away.
Hey, Billy. Hi, Bill.
Hi, everybody. This is on? Yep. Hi, my name is Mark Turbick. I'm a partner with Graycroft. We're a venture firm that's split half here in LA and half in New York. And we invest in a whole range of different companies, but we've also been pretty prolific in the online digital media space, particularly in online video. A few local companies that you might be familiar with, Maker Studios. My partner Dana led an investment in that a number of years ago, which we sold to Disney. Awesomeness TV, which DreamWorks bought. We're investors in Whipclip and a number of others. So anyways, that's a quick background on me. And then why don't I let the panelists each introduce themselves, and maybe if you guys would, maybe like a 1-minute quick elevator pitch just to frame up what the company does, and maybe add one kind of customer use case that just helps illustrate it for the audience, just so it's easy for people to quickly, get a sense of what it is you do, and then we'll fire away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ariel Galinsky. I am with Applicaster. Applicaster is in the app-driven media business. We provide full-stack applications for media and broadcasters. So anything that one can imagine that's related to an app-enabled TV, we would do. We provide a bunch of tools that help our clients improve engagements and revenues via the mobile screens. We work with large broadcasters internationally, with companies such as Televisa in Mexico, ProSieben in Germany, RTL in the Netherlands. And we work with many well-known formats such as The Voice, The Amazing Race, Survivor. If I want to think about one case study, I can probably mention The Amazing Race, and we provide a tool by which the contestants would communicate personalized messages with the viewers, and that, of course, improve engagement, and so viewers would have the chance to select their preferred contesting team and get specialized content that was not offered on the regular airing of the show.
My name is Jonathan Stefanski. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Viewbix. Very quickly, Viewbix is an interactive video marketing platform. What we do is allow agencies and advertisers in under 5 minutes to take their existing video assets, create branded interactive players that can be served everywhere as traditional pre-roll, mobile, both in-app and browser, across any social network, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And most importantly, on the back end, we have a complete analytics suite that gives detailed understanding and knowledge as to how their videos are wearing. And most importantly, we can help identify at what point, where, and when users are taking meaningful actions within the framework of the video. So we're transforming videos from a lean-back TV commercial experience to one which is interactive and engaging and measuring performance. If I would, a simple case study, Cuisinart is a big client of ours, and they're running our technology over Facebook ads, and what they're seeing is more than 25% of the people who are watching their video are taking a meaningful action. That means more than 1 in 4 viewers are either signing up for their mailing list, clicking through to specific landing pages or becoming social followers. So our philosophy when it comes to online video is that it presents the greatest opportunity to target and put the right message at the right point to the right audience and drive meaningful ROI from your online videos.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amos Angelovich. I'm from Babator. If you don't know what Babator means, in Hebrew it means the next in line. And we specialize in bringing the correct next in line viewer to video to the viewer. What we do is we analyze the behavior of the viewers when they're watching video on a specific site. Now, everybody I'm going to ask here in the room is going to say, hey, I'm an individual, I do my own choices. That's right. But we all behave in behavioral patterns. And when we consume those videos, we belong to one of those patterns. What we do is we sit down, we monitor a video site, we identify those patterns online, and when a new viewer comes along without knowing anything about him, as soon as he starts watching the video, we immediately match him to one of those pattern groups. And then we say a very simple assumption. If you're behaving the way other people are behaving and you're consuming a content in the same way other people are consuming this content, you're most likely want to watch what they watched. In other words, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it pretty much is a duck. And that's how we're able to help video publishers increase the number of views, because we recommend the correct video to the video viewer in order for him to keep on watching, or binge watching as they like to say here, okay, and therefore increase their ROI on their existing inventory.
First of all, are there any startups in the house? Yes? Best investor in town, guys. Anyone wants money, come to Mark. No, seriously. I really think you're the best investor in town. So Whip Clip is actually very simple. What we do is we allow you to clip, discover, and share TV. So if you missed a show yesterday, just come to our app and see it instead of in 30 minutes, in 2 minutes. And if you're a publisher and want to add video to your editorial pieces, you just come and do that. So People Magazine writes on Dancing with the Stars and doesn't want just words, wants videos. They come to us and embed it. We have about 2,500 publishers and growing by the day.
I'm going to pull up my notes here. So, all right, so we're going to have some fun here. I'm going to fire away with some questions. They're not specifically targeted at anyone, but I'll kind of initially direct them a little bit. But you guys should also feel free, since you guys are even deeper in this space, certainly, than I am, to, ask some questions, challenge back, some of your panelists in terms of moving this to kind of a deeper level of understanding. So let me just start with this one. So obviously online video viewing has exploded, not surprisingly, over really the last decade, but particularly in the last, let's say 8 years, accelerated obviously by these mini TVs that everybody carries around in their pockets. A lot of the views, if you look at it just on an aggregate basis, are really on these large platforms now, like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, obviously some moving around. That may be a generalization, but still it is a lot of the views. How do you guys see that in terms of your solution? And do you think that that's the long run kind of natural steady state of the market, that let's say more than half or 2/3 of the views will be resident on a handful of larger platforms?
Let's talk about traffic for a second, then we'll talk about video. So I've been doing that for a long time. I think there's two ways in the world. You either have really a lot of money and try and bring the users to you, or just go where the users are. It's really in a real estate business. If you open a new shop and you have a new brand, you're going to go and open your shop at the Beverly Center or Rodeo Drive because you want kind of the foot traffic. It's going to cost you much more, even though the real estate might cost you less if you open it 2 blocks down the road, but you won't have the traffic. So really go where the traffic is. The way we see it in our business is you can put content on many different axes. One of them would be the length of the clip. So it goes all the way from 6 seconds on Vine all the way to a full feature of 120 minutes. I don't think any one of us will watch a 120-minute feature or even a 30-minute show today without watching like 1 minute of it. Think of movies. You won't go to a movie before you see the movie trailer. So really bite-sized content is, I think, the portal to long-term or long-form content monetization. So whoever controls bite-size controls long-form monetization, and bite-size is on the social networks. So our job is to get bite-sized video content onto those platforms, and that's how we win.
I think that the desirability of the content is what provides you lots of freedom. If you are the broadcaster or the owner of the talent or whatever piece of content you have. So needless to say, lots of us are going to the Facebooks and Twitters of the world, when we're watching the program on TV. But those that have really strong content have more flexibility in drawing some of the crowd back into their own ecosystem and potentially monetize that way. So if, for example, I am the NBA and I have something that everybody wants to watch, I have more flexibility in drawing the crowds back away from the YouTubes, Facebooks, or others back into my ecosystem, monetize and benefit in that way.
So I would add a couple of points. Number one, since this is the Israel conference, we probably should ask a question with a question, as you said, and kind of push back. But what I would say is, I think it depends on what type of content you're talking about, because user behavior is very different. If I'm coming to YouTube, YouTube's the number 2 search engine in the world. So I'm actually looking for something. If I want to learn how to build a deck, I might go to YouTube and say how to build a deck and watch a video. That same experience doesn't exist on Facebook or Twitter, right? It's more, I'm reading my news feed, and then all of a sudden there's content that may be related to me if it's advertising or just something my friends are sharing. So it's more, a sudden, content that may or may not appeal to me. It's a very different user experience. So I think where content and where video content is going to sit is highly dependent upon the audience and how we're reaching that audience. And I think the second thing is, to kind of echo what you were saying, is when you look at the space here in terms of, all the MCNs, they started the whole business model getting on Facebook, and I think you start to see where they want to pull more of that content internally, right? Be able to monetize it themselves, not be at the mercy of YouTube. And I think that's another trend that we'll see, which is people trying to bring, how successful will they be is a big question, but bringing more of that content in-house and not being so dependent on these third-party platforms.
I think it's, first of all, thank you for using the word behavioral, because I think that's the...
I'll take my cut afterwards. That's
thank you. But I'd like to give you an analogy to a shop. The question is, do you have a shop that everybody comes in but has a low conversion rate? Or do you have a shop that has fewer customers coming in but everybody that comes in is buying something? And those big companies are usually, or those big websites are usually the first kind. They have a lot of traffic, but not necessarily the high conversion rate. While smaller, more specified or specializing websites have better conversion rate because this is their audience and they get to see more views. So this is the dilemma. And I read somewhere yesterday about a comparison between Facebook video and YouTube video, and they used something called the ripple effect, which they showed, the research showed that in the short term, Facebook is a lot better in distributing a video, whether a brand or anything else, but in the long term, which in video terms means about a week, okay, YouTube is a lot better because there are more, the long tail works better with YouTube rather than Facebook. So different approaches, okay, each one of them eventually trying to take this initial traffic and translate it into conversion and longer tail.
It's interesting, Ori, when you made your first comment about, kind of where the traffic is, if you look back at the history of, at least since the late 90s, right, with at least the commercialization of the internet, I think something like the 5 largest market cap companies were essentially people that shape traffic, right? Like they effectively, route kind of either because they are a search engine that looks at intent, or they're, in Amazon's case, they kind of, became the mall and the store itself, right, where they had the traffic, and eBay, and, and it's interesting to think about that. And so I we always kind of look at that answer as to kind of where the value can accrue, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys all in different forms, it sounds like, also work with publishers, whether those are traditional media companies or whether they might even be brands who are publishing their own kind of branded content? How do you think let's start maybe with the traditional broadcast or cable networks. How do they navigate into this world, and can they maintain kind of a real important direct relationship with a consumer, in this new world, particularly given these platforms now have become so valuable? How do they do that?
So I think you got to look at some of the publishers who have done it really well, right? And I think, let's say, in Major League Baseball, right? They've done a phenomenal job of, and I think sports is a unique, vertical that the live content, right, makes it very different than other publishers. But, they've become so powerful in terms of their app and what they've built that they have now doing it for the NHL, right? And I think, you got to look at the industries that do it really well and see what you can learn from them and take those examples. So I think live sports, which offers a very, compelling content, which is very unique in the marketplace, they're doing a lot of smart, intelligent things that I think other broadcasters can benefit from in terms of their go-to-market strategy.
I agree. I think that sport have more flexibility, and we see some good examples for that. But definitely mobility and customizations are the name of the game. So the more information, like you were saying before, one can collect about their viewers, the better chance you have at designing something that is appealing to them. But then you need to execute on that. And as we've seen in other, historic elements of new technologies coming to market, some organizations execute better than others. What I'm not really sure that we already know are, in our space, what are the formulas that are the winning formulas. And it would be different across cultures. So what may work very well here in the US may not be the best solution for London or Germany or Tokyo or Israel, because lots of what we do involve with telling stories, and that have a very strong cultural dimension to it. So it's not only among geographies, but also across types of stories. So we mentioned sports, that would be told in a certain way. When we tell news, it may need to be told in a different way, or a telenovela would be a completely different way. So we need to be conscious about all these variables, and now I'm going to take the whole conversation back to the word customization and customize around that.
I think it boils down to monetization. I'm looking at the media companies at the TV stations, and they're all, I would say, testing the waters. They all have websites. Their daughter companies have websites. They all have content, whether on YouTube or on their own websites or Facebook or anywhere else. But they have a problem in the transition because their main revenue still comes from ads on TV. And they're trying to figure out how are they going to monetize the same content they're creating, and they have a huge marketing power because it's enough that a commentator, somebody somewhere says, and you can watch this on WW something, everybody will go there. So they can push these platforms, but I feel from our conversations with them that they're still unsure how are they going to monetize this. However, on the other hand, there's a transition of money from TV to video. Everybody sees that. So it's going to take another couple of years, but once they realize or they find a good way to monetize it and get their share back, you're going to see a major push towards online video in those media companies.
So we're in the Israeli conference, so let's talk a little bit Israeli. I think we raised tens of millions of dollars, and we're still a small company here. And I think when you deal with big companies, there's only two things that matter. And there's two things that they react well to, and it's fear and hate. Okay? So if you look at the big studios, they all hate YouTube, and they all fear Facebook. So that's kind of, you have to understand this landscape, and that you just have to play into it. And what we're doing is we say, we know you guys hate YouTube, and you fear Facebook. We're actually really good friends of those guys, and we'll make sure they don't take advantage of you. Give us your bite-sized content, and we'll drive traffic back. So instead of hating them and fearing them, let's actually use them. Let's be the smarter guy. Let's use Facebook and YouTube to drive traffic back, and that's the way we play it.
How have they've obviously, a number of these guys are working with you now. How has that kind of progression worked? And after the fact, once they're working with you, are they finding enlightenment in the sense that they actually did take your advice and now they're seeing the benefit? Or I mean, walk us through their mental progression.
Well, it's I think it's going to take time. It's an education process. Again, I believe that bite-sized content is the key to getting people to actually buy long-form content. Okay, it's very simple. Like, nobody has time to watch a 30-minute show today unless they really want to do that. And at the end of the day, ABC and CBS and NBC make their money by having people watch long-form content and selling ads. So if we can help them do that, it's a win-win situation. Have we been very successful? I think we have a few use cases that make tons of sense, but we still have to show that it can work at scale. But I'm telling you, hate and fear, guys. That's all you care about, hate and fear. They hate YouTube and they fear Facebook. You play there, you're good.
So let me ask first a question that this is what we think about first, and whether it's right or wrong. I mean, we simplify everything, obviously, as venture guys. We always start looking at these different businesses from the user's perspective first. Maybe if you wouldn't mind, just again 1 minute-ish each, give us a sense of how what you're doing makes the user, the viewer, right, the watcher or whatever, how does it make their life better? And why forget what your business model is, your value proposition, just why is their experience better now that they've come across your technology? And then let's flip it, and then we'll talk about kind of the monetization side after that.
Okay, so I'll use an example, a product that we have called Crossmates, and that with this product, a viewer can connect directly with the star of a telenovela. So if I am putting the viewer eyeglasses on myself, I am very much involved in the life and the drama of the story that I'm following. It's an emotional experience for me. So now with Applicaster's product, I can select which one of the stars I like best, and I can have a whole individualized communication with that star. That's the way it feels to me. The star may ask me, what dress should I wear tonight for the date that I'm planning to have? And I may say, go for the blue one, and I would get a reply saying, oh, that's what I have in mind, or no, actually I'll go with the red one, or stuff like that. So in essence, we are customizing and personalizing the communication with a specific story. And the storyline that I am so emotionally involved with now extend beyond the time of the airing of the program. So that's the impact on the viewer.
So we are constantly thinking about users, even though our clients are advertisers and agencies, to make that user experience great. And it's a very simple value proposition where if I see a video ad, which is what we support, chances are I'm not coming to the internet to see that video ad. So if I'm interested in your product and I want to learn more, I may take some type of action. I may say, hey, I'll give you my email address to learn more. I may want to call you. I may want to click through. But that choice is at the hands of the user. They can choose to do that or not. And most importantly, once they do take that action, they can continue doing what they're doing. So if that video appears, inline in Facebook or on a mobile app, right? Once they take the action, they continue with the experience that they came for, right? So it's non-intrusive. It doesn't interfere with the main reason that they're there for. So it really creates a win-win both for the advertiser and for the user, because the user can choose to select and opt in, and they continue doing what they were there for. If they're in the newsfeed, continue in the newsfeed. If they're in a game, they can continue activating the game. And for an advertiser, it's providing meaningful interaction ROIs. So that user experience is absolutely critical of creating a good experience as opposed to making it a bad experience, which is what is causing this whole ad blocking issue, et cetera.
Well, I think I got two examples. First is, how many people here have Netflix? Just raise hands. How many people here are happy with the recommendations they get from Netflix? Anyone? Anyone complaining? Think about this. Your favorite restaurant. If you could come into your favorite restaurant and without even asking you, they would serve you the first course, just the one you wanted before, even without having to tell them anything. Then, just as you finished it, they would serve you the main course that you actually craved for before you came in. And as you finished that, they would give you the dessert. The one you wanted. That's the one you wanted. Now, they would do it every time you went into that restaurant. Wouldn't this be your favorite restaurant? Wouldn't you just go eat there every day because you would always get, without having to ask, you would always get the food you wanted? That's exactly what we do when you go to a video site. Our technology enables you to watch that video that you actually wanted to watch. We're just bringing it forward and offering it to you, recommending, here it is. You don't have to search for it. Just click and you'll watch it. And as soon as you finish watching it, we're going to recommend the next one you actually were looking for that is related to what you wanted. That's how we help users.
Okay, so there's a couple of amazing stats that I always kind of find that are quite staggering. There's 11,000 shows produced every single year, 11,000 new shows produced every single year in the U.S. It's a $40 billion market just in production in the U.S. So the question is, how do you know what to watch? Okay, and basically I think most of us watch stuff that our friends tell us to watch. And we insert ourselves into that. Not only will I tell you what to watch, I'll just show you, 1 minute of video so you can actually understand what I told you. The other thing is how many times all of us have watched video, if it's a sports game or if it's Game of Thrones, and just saw an amazing moment and wanted to share it with people. It's actually extremely difficult to do that. We do that as well. So you see something, just take your phone, you point it at a TV, we recognize what you watch, and we allow you to share the last few minutes with your friends. So it's extremely simple, and we're just trying to do a crowdsourced TV trailers, if you want to use some buzzwords.
And then let me ask this one, and then maybe we'll open up to some questions out in the audience. But now flip the question with respect to advertisers, whether you're selling them directly or whether you're helping your partners create that inventory to then do something with it. Clearly they want to monetize, whether that's an ad or maybe driving to their site or a subscription or whatever. How is that working, and how does that play?
So the beauty is, I don't know if you guys know, but there's kind of a lot of inventory of video online. Not a lot of it is good. And most of the advertisers want to sell against video that actually means something, not a cat on a skateboard. And good inventory on the web is actually missing. And if you go to ABC, they'll tell you, hey, we could have sold 10 times more inventory if we just had the inventory. So that's what we do. We take kind of a show, we cut it, we allow ABC actually, or CBS, to sell the ad, and we take a piece. The beauty is when they sell an ad, it's kind of 10 times higher than YouTube. So YouTube, the average, I think, and the guys here will know better than I do, but it's probably like about $2 CPM, so $2 for every 1,000 people that watch. ABC is able to sell it 10 times that high. They would go to their advertise. Let's say they sold advertising on a TV show to Coke. They just come to them and say, hey, you have a $10 million campaign with me. Do you mind adding another $1 million, and we'll give you another X amount of views online? So they know how to sell it 10 times. They'll sell it 20 CPM. So what we do is we piggyback on their sales, and we take a cut, and that works well for us.
Well, video ads are actually short-form videos, right? It's longer than an 8-second clip. It's about 15 to 30 seconds. Now, just like we can match the correct video that a user would like to watch, we can tell the advertiser the same thing. Listen, this user is going to react positively or negatively to a specific ad. It could be, his type of behavior tells us that he's going to react better to a BMW rather than a beer ad. But it can also be more specific. It can say, listen, there are 50 BMW ads right now. You should show him ad number 23 and not ad number 49 because his behavior reacts, or his behavioral group reacts better to this specific video.
I'm going to ask you a question to the audience. The first person just to raise their hand, just shout it out. When you see a pre-roll video ad, what's the first thing you want to do? Okay. Who in this room, by a show of hands, would not have said skip? Okay. 0. That, there was a study by Metrics Labs that 94% of people skip pre-roll ads. My question is, who are the 6% that aren't skipping them, right? So I think the whole online video market is really broken today, right? And what we've done is we've said, I know how to spend on TV ads, and agencies are lazy, and so let me replace that with an online CPM buy. And we're measuring success on how many people are watching that video, percentage of video view, viewability, completed views. And as an advertiser, it makes us feel good because we can spend our money and we can do that. But online video is all about accountability and measurement and driving engagement. And I think that we're at the tip of the iceberg here, and the model has really have to shift from the TV model to what the value that online video brings to the market. And I think this is the shift that the smart advertisers are doing in terms of measuring success on an engagement level and not on a viewing level or a completed view. And I think over the course of the next X number of years, we're going to see that shift because that's the promise that online video holds for advertisers.
So within our apps, we provide multiple ways for our clients to monetize on the experience once you hold your mobile tool, whether it's an iPad or a smartphone at any rate. But we hear often that there is an element of fatigue, that our clients complain about, that when they go to the advertisers, people seem to be asking them for something new, some sort of a new experience. What we have done now, we have created the ability to control the app from a distance and sort of have complete flexibility in the way it looks and feel. And so, for example, one can look at the app when Coca-Cola would be the sponsor, and it look in a certain way. And the next week, it would look completely different when Ford is the sponsor, trying to completely recreate the experience around the the sponsor of the week. So that would be to complete customize it around the needs not only of the viewer, but also the need of the advertiser.
Yeah, to be completely honest, here's a problem in our market. If you look at the advertising pie, still, and it depends what kind of research you read, online is still between 4 and 8%. Most of the money is on TV. And who buys TV ads? It's the advertising agencies. And I don't know if any of you have spent any time with advertising agencies. There's some guys there, sometimes they're young kids, that sit on a software, which is called kind of a rating software, and they just buy against points. And they spend $20 million, $100 million, $200 million. They want to spend as much as they can because they make their money from the 15%. And on TV, they can spend, it's a trial campaign can be $5 to $10 million just to see what's going on. For online, $5 to $10 million is a huge amount of money. So the question is, how do you tap into those dollars? And we can invent whatever we want, and we can be as sophisticated as we want, and we can be as targeted as we want. As long as we don't tap into those kids that buy for $20 and $30 and $50 million, we'll never make money. So our experience is go where the money is. Let ABC sell it. They'll sell it not at $2, they'll sell it at $20, at $100. And we'll just take our cut. Our cut will always be, just a small cut will be more than the 100% of what we could have done by ourselves. So I think kind of our industry, we need to tap into those dollars. We need to get our systems, connect to those systems, and go where the dollars is. Because we can be as smart as we want. If the dollars are not there, it's not going to happen.
All right. It looks like we have maybe enough time for one or two questions, so we can open it up. Anyone have a question for anyone on the panel?
So, since I said this is the Israel panel, we ask questions with questions. Do you have any kids? No. Okay. So I have a lot of children, 5 of them, as a matter of fact. And I think when you look generationally, the younger you are, the more time we're spending. My kids do not spend any time watching TV. Everything's on their phone. Everything's on tablets. And I think as we go generationally, the idea that phones and tablets, these are the devices, right? And I think, still desktop is massive and TV is massive, but when you look at user behavior, especially millennials and below, it's a radical shift. I heard a funny line today on Facebook. Someone said, voicemail is the messaging system for people over 40, right? Because no one leaves voicemails under 40, right? And I think there's just massive shifts, even email, right? My kids don't use email, it's all messaging. So I think as, we get the younger generation continues to evolve, I think by default their device type is, phones and tablets.
So I have only two at home, 14 and 18. And I would say they are really multi-screen. So it's interesting. For some shows, they would just go to the large screen, to the TV. And for many other things, they would use their tablets and smartphones. However, even when they watch the big screen, they would have a bunch of other screens open and active. And so I think it will be like many other industries. I mean, we will have a world of multi-screens. Some will prefer to see the big screen, some will be more active, some will be laid back, some would want the lean forward, and others not. So we will see all sorts of screens.
Yeah, video. One thing before we finish. Just want to say, Mark and I know each other, I think, for 8 years. Okay, the way I was, I think he came and see our previous company at Veni, and then he said he's going to Israel with his wife. She was pregnant at the time. And we made sure he had a great time in Israel. And he's a great friend of Israel. So all the local companies, if you need a friend here in the VC community, Mark is the guy.
Thank you. It was an amazing trip. So thank you, everybody. Hope it was fun, and let us know what you thought. Thank you.
So thank you very much to our Vidians who gave us Ariel. And I want to give you something back. You've all been hearing this. Do you remember, Ori, do you remember Dosh, the cartoon? It's before your time, but it's still... so this, you're going to love this. It's a figurine of the emblematic cartoon for Israel. And it'll sit proudly on your desk and remind you of creativity and commentary. And I want to thank you all very, very much. I'm going to ask you if we can take a quick little picture with our Thank you very much. A big round of applause for our wonderful video experts who have helped us understand that industry even better. So now I'd like to bring up to keeping in line with video and email and messaging, we have another great session on FutureFest, and I'd like to bring up Jeff Kupiecki of Power in Box to show us a little bit more about how you can send videos inside of emails without too much carry and make it very happy, healthy, and wealthy as you go along. Jeff used to live in Los Angeles, and he's the poster child for the Israel Conference, coming formerly of Los Angeles, now of Israel, Ra'anana, and coming back to LA for the Israel Conference again. Thank you, Jeff. Take us on a tour of Power in Box.
Okay. Thank you, Sharona. For everybody looking for their break, I don't mind. Take your phones out. Take your computers out. Send an email. Everyone said email's dead. You know what? Send an email to demo@powerinbox.com. You'll be amazed at the response you'll get. Of course, you're opting into my email list by doing that. But I do want to show you our product, and we're going to talk about what we do. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit about what it's like to leave LA to move to Israel. So we help our brands, NFL, CBS, Hearst, and others, better monetize their email newsletters. And people say, wait a second, email's dead. My kids don't use that. Well, in fact, email is growing more than any other media channel. It has the highest rate of conversion, and most brands continue to find that's the only channel that they own their consumers. You're very unlikely to change your email address, much more likely to change your physical address. What we do is we help people monetize their email by better matching the user with the content based on 4 things that happen at the time of open. We know the device, we know the location, we know the time of where somebody is right now, and we know personalization, we know their click behavior. In fact, if I can kind of demonstrate that to you with one of our clients, the NFL, when the NFL sends out a newsletter, we know where you are, so we can say, you're in LA, we're going to show you, unfortunately, this is the closest stadium, San Diego Chargers. We show you real-time news. This is something that's happening right now, and on every time you open the email, we show that content. And on the bottom of the email, the way that they pay for it is we show third-party related links. So content recommendations inside the email. It's a great way for us to monetize existing emails, and it's a great way for us to learn how end users like the content, and we show more like that. In fact, for brands like Fandango, we can do the same content recommendations with their own content. So they use our platform to choose which movies to show to people inside their emails. Sharona mentioned we do video in email. You wouldn't believe that that's possible, but indeed, on and open, we can show you a live video playing, and people get very intrigued by that. They click right through. So this is an example from the NHL. We talked about geo-targeting, device targeting. Sephora is using us to find the nearest store. So if you think about the channel, we're helping them drive a lot more conversion, a lot more engagement by being able to determine where you are when you open the email and then changing the content. And finally, we can even do this for Instagram, Facebook. All social media can be brought inside the email and made to be interactive and live. So what would be the business model for this? First off, why do we do this? Is because people see higher conversion. There's a strong ROI to use our product, and every one of our clients sees at least a double-digit increase in conversion. What's the business model? Best thing about it is we pay the publisher. We pay you if you're sending email based on a rev share of what advertisers pay us. If you're not interested in putting ads in email, no problem. We have a self-service component where you can use all the different widgets that we have, and then you pay us a small subscription fee. And then for our larger clients, we do a full-service model. Today, we're very thankful to have over 100 clients. We've been in market for about 15 months. Development is based in Israel. Sales and marketing is based in the United States. And of course, I'm on a plane a lot. We'd really love to talk to anybody who's interested in either investing or would like to try out the product or use it. Hopefully, those people who sent an email to demo at Power Inbox are now seeing that experience live inside their email. If you haven't, again, send an email to demo at Power Inbox. And the last two addresses, if you want to get in hold of us, you can reach us at sales@powerinbox.com. Or for those who want to talk about what it's like to leave LA and move to Israel, I'm Jeff at Power Inbox, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much.
You're super speedy and wonderful, and thank you so much for talking to us about PowerBox. I'm a user, and I want to use it even more. So thanks, Jeff, for bringing something to market that's important and relevant.